Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of the Town and Community Committee on the 18th of January. We'll start with agenda item 1, apologies for absence.
We have apologies from the Mayor, Councillor Sarah Miller, and Councillor Don.
Thank you. Substitute for that. Thank you, Councillor Miller. Okay, agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Receive any interest relating to the business to be transacted at this meeting? See none. Agenda item 3 is public participations. Receive questions and comments from members of the public on any items included on the agenda. Councillor, you're speaking.
Yes, Will Hamilton, 153 Graves Road. I'm actually speaking on behalf of two people, actually. First one is Lawrence Menswear, who has sent an email to councillors, and I believe
So you're speaking on behalf of Lawrence.
Yeah,
He couldn't be here
who
today.
couldn't be here today.
Fair enough.
And I've got another one to speak to who can be here today as
And
well.
that is.
Barry Wagner from Natures.
Thank you.
It relates to the item agenda number 8, the marketplace trial road closure. Lawrence has written a very detailed
Can I
email.
ask a point of order? We've all received
Yes, and I'm going to summarise it. Thank you.
Why we're
I've checked with the town clerk and he's allowed me to summarise it. So you have received an email today from Lawrence Menswear with reference to the trial pedestrianisation marketplace. I would like to object in the strongest way possible. When the subject was raised at the meeting back in 2020, it was made very clear to the council that the retailers in the town were against this ludicrous idea. At that time, no homework had been done, and it was presented as a "if don't try, if we won't know" idea. It was also presented as a way of increasing distancing during COVID, which, thankfully,
point of order. Councillor Hamilton said he was going to summarise.
I am going to summarise it.
He's just reading it out word for word.
No,
I've
no,
read the email.
I'm
I'm
going
not
to.
prepared for the meeting.
I'm
Can
going
I just speak without you interrupting, please? So if you could ask Councillor Hamilton to.
Sorry, carry on.
I don't see any value in reading it out word for word, because I've prepared for this meeting and I've read it and I understood what he was going to say. And so I don't see any value in doing it. Why don't you just let us discuss the item when it comes to the agenda, and we can then use the knowledge of God. It's already.
I continue. I will summarise. I'm reading the first part of the paragraph. And I'm going to carry on. At the end of the meeting, it was agreed that the council will investigate the item before any further decisions were made. To my knowledge, no local investigation has taken place. It would be inconceivable to vote on the matter with the information in hand. Lawrence has written a very detailed email. I will pass that to Sheridan and ask it be added as an addendum to the minutes when we come to discuss it. I then go on to mention Barry Wagner, who called me this afternoon. Barry, as many of you know, runs Machin's, the butcher. We have operated in the marketplace of business established over 100 years. We have delivered via our front door. We have deliveries to our front door Monday to Friday. I think the plan is madness. The retail industry is struggling enough. We need to encourage more people into the town, which involves getting customers in and out, free-flowing and congestion-free, not stopping traffic. This simply has not been thought through. How will I get my deliveries of fresh fish and meats on a Thursday? What about emergency vehicles? And that's from Barry Wagner. He asked me to read that at the meeting. So that is why I've read both of those letters, and I will pass those comments to Sheridan and to the members of the press.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hamilton. Are there any other comments from the public?
I just don't, I don't need to stand, it's not full council. I'm not taking my mask off either, so can everyone hear me? I've seen one negative, now 2 I've heard from retailers, but I've also seen at least 4 positive comments from retailers. So when the letter says I speak on behalf of the majority of retailers too, because we've got 4 messages of support, people offering to be on a working group if there was one, from businesses both in Marketplace, Duke Street, Reading Road. So what I don't understand, and I understand another business wrote an email of support today to the town clerk, what I don't understand is which retailers Lawrence is speaking on behalf of, and as you've spoken on behalf of, maybe you should just clarify, is there some sort of retailers group that Lawrence is speaking on behalf of when he says that? Because the majority of the retailers that I've seen the messages from, or I've spoken to personally, actually are in favour of it, so I'm just wondering which retailers he represents.
Well, this is actually public participation, so I don't want to preempt the debate now, but thank you for the comments. I'm going to move on.
Do we know though, is there any clarification of whichever,
I don't-
because he specifies it in the letter, I just wondered.
Okay, so agenda item 4 is the to approve the minutes of the town community committee meeting held on the 30th of November 2021. Does anybody have any comments on that?
I approve the minutes subject to, we discussed at full council, item 59, that we would bring it back once the bin survey has been done. So it actually needs to be changed at this meeting. It was voted on at full council.
Please, yes.
The minutes are there to be a correct record of what the business that was transacted at that meeting.
Okay, fine.
If that has been superseded by any subsequent meeting, then that wouldn't affect the minutes of that meeting.
Okay. Are we all okay to approve? Thank you. Right, agenda item 5, Henley Bridge Lights. To receive a presentation about the scheme to install lights along Henley Bridge and representatives of Make Henley Shine. So please, when you're ready.
Hi, I think I know met everyone else. Gavin Jackson, who's a local architect who has been behind the scheme. So just a bit of background, this is a voluntary group of people with Henley who are passionate about bringing a sustainable lighting plan for Henley all year round. So we wanted to be very open with you and share where we've got to. It's taken 18 months to get to this point. And I'd like to actually thank Gavin and Emma and Clive and Oliver, who are all those people who've given a huge amount of their time to get to this point. And I think the main point is we listened to what feedback from the town was, in terms of obviously they didn't want a Blackpool illuminations coming to Henley, which we don't want either. We want something that really fits with Henley. So we'd like to share that with you. So the visual you see on screen is the world's leading most sustainable LED lighting. It's very tastefully done. Gavin's going to come on to shortly just to share about the whole planning approach behind it and what we've done there. And we believe this gives Henley the opportunity to be the first town outside London to have a sustainably lit bridge, which we think will really help revitalise the town as we come out of COVID. So it's deliberately a warm white, very sensitively done, and that's very low energy in terms of what we're showing. So what our whole mission is to look at revitalising the town and literally creating an iconic beacon that will be a magnet for people living here, visitors coming to the town. With any town, you know, there's been a lot of problems in terms of retailers that the previous point was mentioned, you know, by Kelly and Will. No town can rest on its laurels. We need to, I think, we really need to think about how we constantly reinvent the experience. At the moment, if you look at the bridge, we've got very old halogen lights, which are in a really bad state of disrepair. It's actually damaging to the bridge, which is a historic monument. And so in terms of actually moving that forward, but also there's a real opportunity to celebrate the relationship between the river and the town. You know, the town goes back to the 1100s, where it was a crossing point for one side of the river to the other. And at the moment, it's obviously very dark. I've got 2 daughters. I wouldn't necessarily want my daughters going around the bridge at the moment. And we're not saying it's got to be big floodlights, but we're saying actually this could be a real experience that people want to come and enjoy and spend time around. And actually, I worked on, up until before COVID, I was working with the Signify, which is the world leader in lighting, worked on the Illuminated River project, which was backed by the Rothschild Foundation, which is the world's longest public art commission. And what they found is actually it's really regenerated the area around the bridges. People are spending time, you know, with their families, coming and enjoying the lighting experience, and it's been a much safer place. It's also given a boost to the restaurants and retailers around the bridge area. One thing that we would like to do, and I know it's been reported on in the press, was about the question about what setup we would have. We would like it to be a charity. We're at the early stages of that. And one of the things we think is a real opportunity is to have an annual Make Henley Shine lighting competition for young people. So you've got the most sustainable LED technology on the bridge. And our idea is that once a year, we would have a competition for all the schools and young people in Henley to create a unique lighting design. And we're building in budget to make that happen. And then that could be obviously with the consultation with this group and the town council, is it might be like a couple of nights that it may be then lit up in these different colours, but it's fostering new skills, really giving a boost to the local economy. So we would like to be able to, with the fundraising we're doing to go on to, is to light the bridge permanently later this year to support businesses by donations. So if I hand over to Gavin just to tell you more about the lighting and architectural side of it.
The design really originates from like the 5 arches and the arc bridge, the arc unique components of this bridge that do those which is a flat road, and in doing it this way, we also echo the signs within the town. Driving into Fairmile and Reverend Hill into the town, there's a logo indicating level 10. It's the same logo, the 5 arches of the bridge, so they tie together quite nicely. And this consists of 470 individual lighting nodes, all equal centres running over the arches of the bridge. And the lighting components, sort of flat circular component, which will shine light across the face of the surfaces of the stone. Again, up and down straight to the handrail. The products manufactured, as Ben said, by a company called Signify, who were previously Philips world leading lighting designers. They got experience of lighting bridges all over the world, just the London Bridge Lights project. And other than that reason, one of the other reasons we chose them is about the issue of sustainability. So they manufacture this particular product in a factory which is 100% renewable energy supplied, and the product has a 25-year lifespan, and even at 20 years, they're still operating at 90% efficiency. There's super low energy requirements. Read that what I've been into 2,787 kilowatt hours is what they need, which is in essence £1.15 a day to run. In terms of where we are with planning, as you know, I'm sure that the bridge is owned by council and local. And a while ago, applications, this building applications went into both. This pre-pandemic and working on failed the application on their side, literally as the pandemic started at the 8-week limit of their review of the project. SODC have kept the project, kept the application live. So it's our intention to, well, we commissioned culture reports and heritage reports to assess the design and the impact of the bridge. They'll be fed back into the SODC listed building application. Once that's live again, we then submit a new application to working, which will mirror exactly what's happening in SODC. Yes. But most of the reports are picked up in this slide. Yes. So £420 a year to run.
So I mean, I think that's quite an important point. What happened in London is with the bridges, it's sparked a debate about how you sustainably light cities and towns. So if you think at the moment, well, actually, this is what I found in London. So they created these amazingly beautifully lit bridges, which were the lowest LED, lowest energy lighting. But then you've got these sort of skyscrapers which are lit like Blackpool illuminations, which are completely unsustainable. But what it's done is to debate about how you can sustainably light the whole city. So we really believe this is a massive opportunity for Henley to lead the way in how towns can be sustainably lit. So if you think about the other landmarks that we're famous for in Henley, so St Mary's Church, Town Hall, and other pubs and restaurants, a lot of those are lit with very high energy consuming halogen technology. So actually, we've got the chance to really, for the whole community to come together to be far more sustainable. So we think it's a really positive project, and we don't just see it's lighting the bridge to be beautiful. There's a lot of knock-on effects in terms of education for children and thinking about the river, geography, and history. And we want to touch on history.
I was about to touch on different aspects of that, and it's that the bridge sits as a townscape grouping with the Little Angel, the Red Lion, and Balance Estate Agents. They sit as a group. So the classic image of Henley is coming over the bridge, park, hotel, so on and so forth. At night, all the other things are lit except for this. So the longer term hope for us is that one of the bridges that we open up a dialogue with that townscape group, so that we get the lights to work as a family in terms of colour rendering, intensity of light, so it sits as a considered lit group. At night, the bridge just disappears completely. So again, we touched on planning. So it's the live application of SOPC, the feeding documentation to them. We're in conversation with OCC as the owners at the moment about the route through, in addition to any planning documentation. We're going to follow that on with a duplicate application with working. Just one point there from feedback from the Henley Society, where 81% of the people that replied to the question about support it. And so we're very see that it's reflected also in the wider community.
And I think just one point to raise about the heritage and ecology reports. It's taken us through 18 months to raise the first £10,000, and we spent all of that money on the heritage and ecology reports, which weren't done in the initial phase. So that's absolutely critical, and it's also that's evidence behind the design that we've chosen. So we deliberately have moved away from uplighting the bridges, which then has light spill on the river, which affects the ecology and wildlife, below the river and above the river. So there's a lot of thought that's gone into the design approach that we've got. Okay, so in terms of timing, we spent sort of up to last year getting initial donations to get us to the first stage with the heritage and ecology reports. We then obviously announced that we formed a wider group of experts from across the town to bring this project to life. And we really want this to be a community project with all of the sort of the stakeholders, public, private, along the river, schools. And obviously that's when we spoke to Sarah Miller, who suggested that invite us to come tonight to share the plans with you and to listen to your feedback. So what we would like to do is have a plaque on either side of the river, which again feeds into the whole touristic experience and explains, about the river and what it's there for. And the idea is that we would have 470 individual lights that, if it could be a family buys one, for their family. We've had people approach us who they've lost loved ones in COVID that they want to have a light in memory of their loved one on the bridge. So it is a real community project, and we plan to have a crowdfunding site in the spring. Want to be a bit further down the line with planning application, so that we're bringing all of the money together. But it would be a great opportunity if we could get your support to try and make this happen in 2022. It's the Queen's Diamond Jubilee year, and it's it'd be a great celebration for that and marking of us as a town and how we're different and really being a sustainable town for the future. So I suppose over to you, wanted to get your feedback, any questions you have, and really just asking you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Does anybody have anything they want to ask? Councillor Thomas. And then Everton.
Thank you very much for that presentation. It's actually Platinum Jubilee, not Diamond Jubilee. So I have got a couple of questions. The first one being, is it going to be white all year round?
So that's really a consultation with this group. We've done it deliberately, listening to what people's feedback was, to have it more white, which is even heavily for the majority of the year. But then there's the opportunity, and obviously this comes down to the commercial side as well. We have to raise the money, we have to raise 50,000, we've raised 30,000 so far. And there are opportunities where we can be smart about it. So, for example, with Leander, it could be during regatta week that you gave permission as the town council to say that Leander could light it pink just for regatta week, but that really sets us apart. It, you know, creates the tourist experience, and I think opportunities like that are sensible, and that's what the London Bridge project have done. So, for example, during COVID, they lit the bridges blue every week, for the clap for carers, which was in keeping. It wasn't over, it wasn't too much. So that's something you to consider.
I think the commercialisation of any civic space is very controversial, potentially controversial, and I think many of the 2,500 people that signed the petition for it, I'm not sure that they'd be keen on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about balance, isn't it? It's trying to make it happen.
But what you mustn't be doing as a group is promising that they can have pink for, or
no, and that's why we haven't done that. That's
in
why
return for,
yes.
I think the public will not go for that. That's my personal
Yes,
opinion.
and that's why we've done it, all the way throughout. So, yeah.
And that-
Can I address that
Sorry,
point a little further? The construction rights completely in town council. So, see, we don't own the bridge, the town doesn't own the bridge. The plan is to gift the lights to the bridge. So, obviously, any town council will adopt them, and therefore you have control of them.
Yeah.
There's software built in. There's you work from an iPad, laptop within the control of the council.
Sure, okay.
And actually, just picking up on that point, about the idea about the community competition, we want to have it community-led first and foremost. So we thought that's a brilliant idea in terms of fostering digital skills for young people in town. The most amazing lighting technology in the world is world class. This is the technology that we've chosen.
In terms of planning, it is a grade 1 listed structure. Majority of the bridges in London, to which you referred to with the Illuminated River Foundation, they are grade 2. So it's a whole lot of difference between 1 and 2. So of course, the conservation officers are going to be looking very, very seriously at the fixings for all these dead lights. Do you have any technical information for them ready to go for the planning application?
We are in consultation with OCC about fixing methods. I just let you know our heritage consultants, it's a company called Donald Insel, where the clients are Crown Estates and the House Department. So they're very, very used to doing grade 1. That's why we chose.
Okay. And just one more question, if I may.
Sure.
Sorry to take up so much of everyone's time.
That's a very good question.
The next one is the Illuminated River Foundation. They actually have a time-specific time that they're actually lighting up the bridges in London, and that is from dusk till 2 AM, which gives the wildlife time to rest from 2 o'clock, obviously, till dawn. Do you intend to propose the same?
No, we intend to propose something better. So we mentioned about the end on the bridges, the hotels, the churches, whatever their switch off times are, we intend to try and slot in to that. So I think the first one that goes up is the pub. So we'll never be lit more than anything else around. And the other aspect of why it's tunable, we want to monitor our light bills so that they're lower than the other light bills in that townscape set.
And actually, just adding to that, we've actually thought, and this is for you to decide, but we could actually do it for a short time anyway. So for a town, it's probably far more practical to put the lights off at midnight rather than 2 AM, and we haven't got nightclubs in a big city. So it's just being proportionate and really having a discussion about what's going to work for the town and getting everybody's input. So I mean, you can imagine there's a huge amount of stakeholders like OCC, Wokingham, obviously our town council, SODC, and that's where we really need your help and guidance to to make it happen, because we don't want to do this on our own and can't do it on our own.
Okay.
Just on fixings, we're absolutely clear that what we don't want to do is fix anything to any piece of stone.
Mm.
And the aim ultimately is that we could remove this and have not damaged a piece of stone.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Eggleton, have a question?
Yes, well, some of them have been answered already. On the electric supply, in one aspect of it, we wouldn't be discussing this now if it wasn't for Clive Henderson who put it up in the first place. Admittedly doing it the wrong way, and this has been done the right way. So in that aspect of it, if it wasn't for him in the first place, we wouldn't even be discussing this, I don't think, because it'd still be black and still be lit up with massive big spotlights, which wouldn't do any favours for the wildlife whatsoever. The other side of it is there is quite a few issues with the electric supply down on that part. Apparently it's well out of date. Unless that's sorted out quite a lot of cost, then I don't think you'd be able to connect to where the mains are on that bridge. Perhaps Sheridan could answer that on that side, with the electric side of it. Because apparently the electrics are not fit for purpose, and so if they're not fit for purpose, then how can you connect this to that?
Yes, please. If you know.
Yes, I mean, that has been raised very recently. I don't think there's been any recent survey on it, so we don't know if they are fit for purpose at all. Although I'm happy to go with take for granted what you were saying there, and if they need upgrading, then the town council will probably at some point need to do that upgrading anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor, you finished?
Yeah.
Councillor Henderson.
Yeah, I'm generally supportive of enhancing our natural assets. I think I've made that clear since 2017 when Clive did what he did. I'm in support of enhancing our assets, absolutely, as long as it's done sympathetically. And I'm really pleased to see the people that are involved. I think it's great that there's an energy for it. And but one thing you just said did concern me slightly, because there's no such thing as a free gift to a town council. So I'm thinking, how much does it cost in 25 years when they need replacing? Well, because we're signing up to forevermore. And that inevitably means signing up future councils to responsibilities and extra funding and basically taking it on a bridge that we don't actually have any say in or own. So I just wanted to know a little bit more about that gift into the town council, because I don't think we really would have any control. We might have some say, but
so obviously, I mean, this is where the different levels of government come together to work together to make things happen, obviously. So we would be gifting them. We're a not-for-profit voluntary group, and how London have done it is they've done it as a 10-year project. So at the end of that 10 years, all of that lighting can then be removed. And to Gavin's point, the technology that we've chosen is deliberately chosen because it can be removed easily. So there's nothing screwing into the brickwork of what is a Grade 1 historic bridge. So I hope that answers your question. So we have thought that through, and actually through the fundraising you want to do through the community and public and private money, then that fund it back for 10 years, and then everything is covered, even to the point where we're costing for a specialist lighting designer who could then translate, if you do community competition, then the winning young person whose design will be put on the bridge will be factored in the cost of that lighting designer translating that into reality on the bridge. Obviously, I don't have those skills and we don't have those skills. So we're really trying to think of all of the important parts to make it happen.
And just to back what Michelle said about the commercialisation of the bridge and sponsorship, I think there's a difference between involving residents and having that kind of support and businesses. And that's the kind of thing I think most of us want to steer away from and just do. Anyway, and yeah, the electricity is absolutely shocking and needs to be sorted out. I've got a picture of it somewhere on my phone if anyone's that interested.
Actually, I mean, even on the actual bridge, there are plants going out of it and it needs some love and attention.
Absolutely.
Where the photograph of the electrics is taken? Is it the?
The inside of the
bridge,
electric box, yeah.
The sort of green. metal
No, there's
box?
two. I've got a photograph of both boxes.
Right.
One's absolutely shocking. Because we wanted to figure out the electricity for elsewhere,
Yes.
and that's how I happened to come across the photo for it.
Just have a couple of questions then, Councillor Arlott had his hand up, so I'll just ask. So these are, and you had a diagram on an earlier slide that showed these being as individual bulbs. On a
Yeah,
script.
individual light, yeah, bulb, yeah,
And I assume these are individually programmable.
yes.
Every individual knows program.
Yeah, okay.
So the cable is a power cable and an information.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify that the presentation that many of us attended many months ago in Town Hall on by Clive, he demonstrated a light which was just a continuous bar of light, like a neon style thing.
That's
It's
true.
not excluded.
That's one way of putting it. I believe that's what he applied for planning permission for. This is
We
a
have to
different type of lighting.
supplement all of that with the new information.
Right, so this is totally different. This is not what was
Completely
done
different.
before. Okay, thank you.
The
very
only
much.
thing that's similar is it follows the arches and the line of the road.
Thank you, thank you. And the other question I had was, you've got figures on the cost of running it,
Yes.
but I wonder, do you know what the wattage is of the total bridge, all the lights?
Um,
combined?
Sort of. I think depending on which exact product we select from them, it's about 2 watts per lamp.
And that's,
And so the calculation that Signify have done for us is if they're on for this amount of hours per night, less in summer, more in winter, and they're run for 365 days a year, that produces the figures that we take off the
Okay. so you've got there 470 individual tunable LED
Yes.
roads. Is that for both sides of the bridge or per
That's the
side?
entire bridge.
That's the entire bridge.
So this is the product,
Okay,
and it's sort of flat disc.
right.
So it will sit, so that
Okay.
how well people know the bridge.
So 2 watts each, that's just under a kilowatt then, so that's good. Councillor Arlott.
Yeah, I just wanted the planning aspects of this, obviously SODC and Wokingham.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what we can offer you this evening, because obviously we give planning observations to both, and myself, obviously
Yeah,
being on SODC as well. And, you know, if they were to recommend it, obviously I can call in the application. But if I show I'm a supporter of this, I've literally predetermined my
Right.
situation and I don't appear at any meeting. So I think we need to be careful what's going to happen here, because even, you know, what the application to Wokingham District Council, you know, they will ask for an observation for from Henley Town Council.
right.
And we need to be careful, some of us, or maybe all of us, on what we do support or not support this evening. So we really need to be careful there. Can you remind me what Wokingham District Council refused the application for? That's the first question.
Oh, in really simple terms, there wasn't enough documentation to support it anyway. But because it was reaching what we targeted, the country was shutting down. So absolutely naturally, it was easy for them just to say, let's say no.
So, and also to answer your question, so we've got heritage and ecology reports, which we didn't have before. It's completely new design, most sustainable LED technology. So everything is different apart from the basic principle that you mentioned, Dave, that, you know, Clive had put lights on the bridge. But apart from that, you know, everything is new that we get Gary's help to put, you know, on the new application. But yeah, I mean, we'd actually welcome your guidance on, you know, feedback, how we amend it, and then how we work with working on an SODC to make it happen.
First question, so then on to the SODC application, which has been in there for a year now.
And at least.
Yeah, well, normally they would ask you to put a new application in, which there again, you know, we don't wish to, or I don't wish to predetermine that this evening. And I would imagine if there's going to be a lot of changes, they may well ask for a new application.
Commonly, in my experience, is what they would do if there's significant different applications, they reconsult. The application will still stay alive, or go back up to public consultation. We fully expect that to happen.
Which you could welcome back to the town council then.
I would expect so, yes.
Yeah,
you know, I've got to be careful what I say, but the bigger the problem, which I think Michelle Thomas were fixings. And I think you can probably get over that. That will lead you a long way forward. One would imagine.
We're heading towards that in two different ways. So we have the heritage consultants who will liaise with that, but also OCC, and specifically how do they fix things as the vision of the meeting? And I think they're about to, in terms of big chunks of stone falling off things and fixed stones. So what they do is they have stainless steel fixings at the back of the stone to reclamp it back on. All of their fixings are using under gravity, so it's supporting the piece of stone that's trying to fall, so it puts pressure onto the bridge itself. Ours doesn't do that because the detailed design of the bridge is such that at the bottom of the balustrade there's a large architrave that goes right across the way. Across every arch there's a kind of
ledge, isn't it?
Taurus detail. So they're big ledges which these products will rest on. So again, even the amount of fixings will be minute, maybe 4 per arch or something like that.
So you think you could be using ply strip?
No. There'll be a mechanical fixing of some sort within the joints. Not the, again, the stonework differs. The vertical stone faces are different from the detailing. The detailing around the bridge has large mortar joints. The vertical stone has ashlar joints, which is just stone to stone. So again, we're looking exactly to wherever a joint is.
That's Hamilton.
Thank you for a most expert presentation, and you've clearly got a group of people together that can really drive this forward. And I know you've been doing lots of work and doing the fundraising and looking at fixings and looking at, and the words I picked out, you know, professional, specialist, expert, you know, these are the types of things that clearly have gone into this project. Because if we're going to do the lights, we've got to do it properly. And it is a great one, this bridge, as we well know. And clearly you've managed to tap into some of the experts, House of Parliament and other places that have gone down a similar route. I'm all in favour. I'll be open. I hear what Councillor Arlott says in terms of we've got to be careful about what we support and not support, as it were. But I think this could be a fantastic project if it's done properly. There's a big thing to it though that no one else has touched on yet, which is the fundraising, and it's 140 grand, all right, and it's a lot of money. And I hope the town will get behind it. I think the ideas potentially you've got in terms of buying a bulb, which any family could afford, is perhaps a way forward, but also some of the businesses in the town coming forward and supporting with some sizable sums of money. I raised 15,000 a year with Richard Reed for the fireworks, and there might be some people in that list that we could look at to see whether, rather than do fireworks this year, but they perhaps put their money towards the Make Henley Shine. I think that would be a sensible way forward. But I do think it's an absolutely fantastic project. I know you'll look at the fixings, and I know there's going to be huge hurdles to go across with SODC and with OCC and planning and all that kind of stuff. But unless we try, we don't know what we're going to get to with this one. And I'd just like to give you all the support you can. You know, if there's anyone we can introduce you to, or to in terms of raising the money, I do think that the council, you know, I hope that the council would support in principle this project, and I hope that the council would look in due course to match fund any money that this team raises. But that will be a matter for the finance committee in due course.
On the subject of money, you just mentioned the figure of 140k. Where did that come from?
For that, so it's in the public debate, so we get a 10-year capital project, it costs 50,000.
See, okay, that was in the
So there's,
presentation.
yeah.
All right. So that's the total you're trying to raise.
Yeah, so we've raised
Yeah.
30,000.
They've raised 30,000 already, so
Yeah.
140. So yeah, but it is a sizable amount of money. But again, if we can pull on some of those fundraisers and some of those organisations that have previously funded other projects, then hopefully we can get towards that target, and then look to see how we can support it as a council ourselves.
Does anybody else have any questions on this? Thank you very much for coming. Oh,
If there are no further questions, I'd like to make a proposal. You go ahead and so.
I just want to thank you for coming along and ask if you would like to come back in the future talk about progress as the project moves forward. But thank you, guys.
Yeah, no, thank you very much to Make Every Shine and you coming along and explaining where you are at the moment in this project. And I'd like to propose that the town council note the presentation and thank Make Every Shine for the efforts you're making, your volunteers, just like we know. That we're keen to listen to the proposals as they take shape, recognising that they're still at their early stages in both structure and fundraising, as you can point it out. And that we look forward to hearing future presentations from Make Every Shine as your proposals develop. So I'd like to make that proposal.
I'll second that. All those in favour?
Put an abstention because I'm on plan at SABC.
Okay, fair enough, thank you. Nothing new.
You do say that you're looking for financial support. The council does have a grant scheme which you would be welcome to apply for. If you'd like any more information about that, just drop me an email and I can send you the details on that.
Yeah, so I suppose just one final thing from us is thank you for listening. We're really open to adapting this and we just welcome your support and also your guidance about on fundraising and also just making the project a reality because I think we've got a real opportunity to make a difference here, but we need everyone to come together to make it.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheridan. So moving on, agenda item 6, communication manager update. Received as a note report from communication manager. I'm happy with that.
Noted.
Thank you. 7, finances 2020-2021. To note the management accounts for the end of November 2021. Yeah, if you just want to pop them on the end of that table there, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, everyone happy with that? Noted. Agenda item 8, marketplace trial closure. So something that obviously there's very strong opinions on all sides. The mayor is obviously behind this proposal and she really wanted to speak to this, but due to the dreaded COVID, it's been unable to make this meeting. And I'd like to therefore defer, I'll propose that we defer it to the next TNC meeting. There is still time.
I'll second that. I know there are councillors that want to speak for and against it, so and retailers that want to speak in favour and against it. So I feel like
Yeah, well, I
better
think
opportunity.
Lawrence couldn't be here, the mayor can't be here, so I think it makes sense to give everyone a proper opportunity to debate it at the next TNC. Councillor Hilliard.
No, I'm just going to say I support deferring it to next TNC because you know it is the mayor's project. But I do think that there are some gaps that we need to bring forward for the next TNC, which are things like the emergency services. It's no good saying there's no data. I think they do need asking, you know, if they've got any issues. I also think we need to approach the taxi drivers in the town because it's going to impact on their livelihood as well as all the businesses.
Thank you very much. Those are the two things I'd actually highlighted. So the emergency vehicles, we do have time before the next TNC to have a word with Fire Brigade, for example.
Possibly bus companies as well.
Yeah, taxi companies well worth speaking to. And also, we do not know what the demand would be from these businesses or their customers, so it might be worth just chatting to them as well in time for the next TNC and letting them. Okay. Oh, Councillor Everton, sorry.
Yeah, a couple of questions have already been answered by Lorraine and some aspects of it. I won't support this idea. I think even with the Henry's being there, Henry Standard's being there today as well, that they anybody that wants to have their say on this matter, that to turn up at full council, because that's the only chance they have an opportunity to have their voice. So whatever date the next full council is, if Henry Stanley can put that in there, that the public.
Well, we'll defer it to the next TNC, so. About 6 weeks' time. Councillor Hamilton.
But Dave makes a very good point, actually. The mayor's project, and we've heard that there is obviously deep opinion about this, both for and against. I just wonder whether perhaps it should be discussed at full council rather than at TNC. There are points that have been made for and against this project. There is a detailed report here that could be discussed by councillors. Councillors get lobbied by members of the public, as I was called twice today. My phone's been hot all day, and we should be able to. We should be able to speak on behalf of those residents who want to take their point of view, which is why, as well as Lawrence sending the email, he asked me to read it out. And sorry, is there something funny?
2 calls isn't hot. He said I had 2 calls, my phone was being got.
Isn't it a very long time?
Sorry, I'm childhood. Makes boring.
Yeah, we're proposing to
Okay,
defer it to
and
next
so, and the other one is from Barry Wagner, but they can be fed into a report. I just wondered, Lawrence Plant, for example, won't be at the next TNC, so won't have a chance. This is a big item for debate, and I feel that it should perhaps be debated by all councillors rather than just this group. But I'm very happy to debate it at TNC if you want to debate it at the next TNC, and then it goes to full council.
Okay, Councillor Hillier.
Yeah, I've just said, I think TNC is the appropriate committee. I mean, everything's ratified at full council and everybody will have an opportunity to speak then. You get sort of 2 bites of the cherry, if you like. And I think that at a committee, you do discuss it in depth, and but there will be 2 opportunities.
Councillor Arlett, and then I do want to move to the vote. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'd like to defer.
I don't see this as a big thing, closing a road for a day. Councillor Hamilton has been following the emails coming through of late in between his red hot phone. He would have seen that they're going to close Duke Street for 2 days. I think that's more of a major artery through the town than the marketplace. You obviously haven't read the emails. And so, there's been no complaint from anybody that I've heard of. It's just a question of the fact, they've got trouble with the sewers there, which they need to do work on, so they close the road. It's as simple as that. But if we were talking about complete pedestrianisation, we're going to close this for 6 months for a trial. Yeah, and straight away I'll be totally against this. But just when we talk about 1 day or 2 days in 2 different weeks, or just 1 day, I don't see this as a massive problem. It will be a good fact finding out to see what exactly does happen. So I look forward to discussing it at the next meeting.
Okay, so
Sorry.
yeah.
I was just correcting it. The problem is, it's not just 1 day. I mean, if you look at section 3.1, it actually says with a view to more regular programme of closure. So we are looking at more than 1 day, and that's why it is important.
I see. Okay. The proposal was just to defer this to the next TNC, so I suggest we vote on that now. So
Can we just have
one last thing?
One last thing. With Lorraine, yeah, it's appropriate to come back to this committee, yes. So I still think it should go to full council to actually to decide with all councillors. The thing is, I get this consistently with people coming up to me and saying about the lights and the traffic and everything else and being stuck in traffic. Now, if you get basing it just on that traffic side of it, where you have a nightmare where people get stuck for hours. I mean, you just look when they close Duke Street, how much disruption it will cause for 2 days. But until you sort the traffic system out in this town, closing any roads off for an event, I can understand if it was to do with COVID and giving more space, but we're sort of coming out of that sort of side of it, hopefully. That I don't think that we should close any roads for any length of time if we're going to have something, have it in the
Can
market.
we just vote on the deferral first?
Yeah.
Because if that falls, then we'll debate it now, but we're still debating. it.
Okay. No problem.
All those in favour of deferring to the next Team C? Unanimous.
Mr. Chair, could I just ask that a further report that comes, will a further report come back with all the other points? that have been
We've
raised?
requested those clarifications. Okay. So that should be fine.
And
Thank you very
should
much.
members of the public write to the town clerk if they wish to express their point of view?
I don't think we need to see it. Shane? Yeah. Thank you. Agenda item 9 is progress reports. We have some exciting news.
If it's about Ben, I'm not.
We just have, in addition to what's here, we just have one small additional update on the repointing of the slabs. I have heard from my friend to my left here that we have now received the 2 quotes. So that's coming before the next TNC meeting. Which is fantastic.
The 2 remaining.
2 remaining quotes.
Well, that's 4 in total.
Which side of the fence are you looking?
That's great.
Councillor Hinton, do you have any update on the Way Road line?
No, it must have finished consultation now, though. I'll quickly look at my emails while discussing what's the progress of the matter.
Councillor Moon's not here to update us on the review. And let's do that first. Councillor, sorry. Oh, and then Councillor Everton, or was it the other way around?
Right, go on, Ken.
Well, those just have been refurbished, are they 100% complete? The inserts, the locks, completely repainted?
That's a very good question. I don't know that. I presume they all are, however, I may well be corrected. I do know that the stubbing plates are still outstanding, as trying to retrofit them is difficult. And, but apart from that, I believe they are, but I may well be.
Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, Councillor Everton, sorry.
Yeah, some of the bids haven't been finished. One of the things was that after the winter's gone, because the bins that have been refurbished, if you don't wash the bins around the bases of it, all the salt will eat into the new paintwork, and you'll start going back to square one. So, and because they never had no maintenance done on them over 20 years from the day they were put in, if we don't maintain them now, we'd be in the same boat as we were before. Stubbing plates and drilling into cast iron makes the cast iron weaker. So I wouldn't say bolting or screwing or drilling any of the bins, because you will make that, you will weaken the structure of the bin. If you're going to put anything on there, then it will be stuck on. Because you can get these little aluminium plates, which you can then just wind down the top of it to take the paint off, and then just glue them on. They're like little aluminium plate that you can use for stubbing.
So we're still awaiting quotations for them anyway, so I'm sure we'll be debating that at a subsequent meeting.
It was just one.
Oh, sorry.
There was a bin put in the marketplace because someone, I think you know about that. There was an extra bin put in the marketplace because someone said that bin keeps getting filled up. So they did put another bin back in the marketplace, but it's right in the middle of the pitch. So it doesn't work on market day because they have to have that bin within inside that pitch. So if you had, if someone would have asked or asked Nikki, where's the best place, because bearing in mind you've got markets in that area, the ideal location, and if it can be moved, it'd be good because then it will work for that for the market day. It's the one which is offset, so it's an odd, so it's closer, so it's not even in line with the other bin. If it was pushed down where the cycle rack is, it's stuck that way, so it's not interfering with anybody, but it's still within that area of that catchment.
Well, we're just reviewing that, aren't we?
Like,
Please do, Sharon.
So it wasn't an additional bin, it was the moving of a bin from further up the marketplace to that point. And the events and markets manager, she was consulted on it along with the estates team and parks team as to where would be the best location. And that was the reason why that was chosen. However, if there is a better location for it, I'm sure this is a large job to move it.
I was going to be surprised whether there was a new bin, because I won't get
Well, it
into
wasn't a
debate
new-
whether it was an additional bin or a new bin, but there you go. The bin, yes, the bin I'm going to ask about is the one at the bottom of Friday Street that was refurbished and then the hinge broke on it. What are we intending to do there? That bin is used quite a lot, and I don't know whether we do have a spare one in the depot, but that bin does need to go back. I know exactly what happened to it. It was refurbished, then the hinge broke. I understand that, but that one does need to be replaced. It's not an additional bin. One opposite the slipway.
Chairman, I think a phone call with the town clerk would suffice on this rather than debate this issue here.
Well, that's what we're sat here for, to debate things, not to make
Not-
individual phone
Technically
calls.
not now, in progress report, but Sharon, if you've got it.
Hang on, past it.
I'll need to, this was last discussed back in, I think it was the end of October when it was damaged, so I'll need to refresh my memory of exactly what.
If you could look into it.
It was certainly concluded that unfortunately, even though the bin had just been refurbished, that it wasn't salvageable because of how it sheared off. But I cannot remember what the agreement was on how it was going to be replaced.
Right, with that, I close this.
Oh,
meeting.
sorry, the consultation has ended for the railway. The only address registered to it was the cinema. I don't know if it's actually changed it, because I didn't go down and check, and I should have done, but I will